The press reports on the latest accusations against Donald Trump has sparked a number of debates in the media, not just about journalistic fairness, but also about women, their own experiences with sexual harassment and sexual assault, and how they respond.
Ironically, Mika's had experiences with some people who right now are going out and being very self-righteous, and with leaders of news organizations that are going out being very self-righteous. And by journalistic guides who are being very self-righteous over the past several weeks.
I had experiences like that in Washington. I was a page on Capitol Hill. My parents prepared me for men like this.
Joining us now, Molly Hemingway, senior editor at The Federalist, and Amy Argetsinger, an editor and former columnist at The Washington Post. Amy, have you had experiences like this? Have friends of yours? And if so, does it change the way you look at the allegations by these women involving Donald Trump?
Friends of mine have had experiences like this, and I think you're seeing a lot of women talk about this, write about this, sharing their experiences on social media. You know, it's interesting. I think we all got flashbacks to the Bill Cosby situation as this began to unfurl like an avalanche, really. The difference here is really seeing women find something very relatable in the situation. With the Cosby allegations, it was somewhat more exotic, people being drugged, people being raped.
Right.
Here, you're talking about women who've been groped, have had aggressive sexual passes made at them.
Wanted kisses, yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people have experienced.
Right.
And that a lot of people are sharing their stories about now.
Molly Hemingway, let me read you a couple things. Ruth Marcus this morning in her Washington Post column, the arm went around my shoulder, the hand began to creep further and further down the neckline of my dress. She was 20 years old at a college newspaper dinner. Natasha Stoyanov, the People magazine writer who published her account this week, says, I was ashamed, blamed myself for his transgression, I minimized it, I was afraid a wealthy man could discredit and destroy me. Do female journalists look at this differently because of what some personal experiences they or their friends may have had?
I think female journalists are frequently dealing with wealthy or powerful men, and sometimes wealth and power correlates with sexual entitlement. And so female journalists do encounter this type of thing, just like all other women do. And so I think that has to play a role in how they're covering the story.
And Amy, an author named Kelly Oxford wrote on Twitter, tweet me your first assault. She told about being grabbed on a bus when she was 12. 27 million people either visited her page or responded. So I'm getting the impression as a guy that this has really struck a pretty deep chord.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you start off talking about workplace incidents, but here we're talking about a full range of things that women experienced when they were children or teenagers, or whether it happened to them in the workplace or whether it happened when they were walking down the street. And what you see a lot of women reflecting upon, too, as Ruth Marcus did, was the tendency to remain silent. We all like to think, oh, we would throw an elbow, we would yell, and that's not what happens. And I think that's why there's a lot of sympathy for women who are coming forward with stories only much later who didn't speak about it before, except maybe to a couple of friends, because that's the truth. Women are disinclined to make a fuss. They think they won't be believed. They think it's not worth the hassle.
Or there'll be a backlash, or they'll lose their job, or whatever. But let's talk now about the accusations by these women against Donald Trump and how much media attention it's getting. And do you see a difference, Molly, in the level of sympathy there was or was not in the press for Paula Jones and Kathleen Lilly and Juanita Broderick? Of course, that happened those incidents were talked about and debated almost 20 years ago.
I don't think the time difference is as significant as the political difference, and I think there's a big problem with how we cover these stories. I don't get the sense that journalists are genuinely concerned about the sexual exploitation of women, so much as they're just using this as a way to push a political agenda, and that is very dangerous. I mean, these are issues that women deal with whether or not there's a presidential election going on, and they should be covered a bit less. There's so much enthusiasm going into this story, and it doesn't seem like it's genuinely out of concern for women so much as a way to bludgeon Donald Trump.
So you're saying something really significant here, which is you believe that as opposed to when Bill Clinton was sort of given a pass by a lot of feminists and some in the media, although he did get impeached over Monica Lewinsky and related lies, that you believe that the reason the media have really fully embraced the accounts by these women, which we don't know whether they're true, but they may be true, is because they don't like Donald Trump and he's a Republican. Is that fair?
I mean, I don't think there's any question that the media are at odds with Donald Trump and they will use anything. I mean, journalistically speaking, one of the things that's very challenging about this story is when dealing with claims of sexual assault, you're usually dealing with private incidences, which are very difficult to verify, but a lot of people are just going with single-sourced stories, and that is not a typical journalistic practice to go with such a with just one source to make a claim. You wouldn't see that happening against Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or something like that. We should be careful to be covering this story with the same due diligence that we would apply to anyone else, whether or not we like them or not.
Well, I have concerns about the volume of the coverage, because it seems like there's no other issue in the campaign right now. But when Molly said single source story, if you've got somebody on the record, and then they provide people, they told this 2 months ago or years ago, is that what else can you do?
I suspect.
Or should you not go ahead with the story?
Again, I'm an editor of the Washington Post. I've not been involved in the coverage of these particular stories. I would not be surprised if there are a lot of accusations that are not being reported because journalists don't have the same gut comfort level that they do with the ones that have been coming out there. You know, the ones you've been seeing written about, there is an incredible amount of details. Like, here are 5, 6 people who we've talked to who say that she told us this story contemporaneously. You know, full disclosure, here are the various legal problems she's had in her past. Here's her voter registration.
Or she's a Hillary Clinton supporter.
You do see attempts to do this, but I mean, the truth is that the nature of these crimes is that it is going to be one word versus the other, or there is not going to be a story at all.
On that point, Amy Argersinger, Molly Hemingway, thanks very much for stopping by. Coming up, the Clinton campaign facing all kinds of embarrassing emails and those hacked material, but is the press giving her a pass? And later, Mark McKinnon of The Circus uncovering the media circus.